Hello there, and then welcome to a brand new video. This is How Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. Now, in this lesson, we are looking at how to add and subtract integers. In our previous one, we studied how to add and subtract integers, but then we looked at using the number line. In this one, we are looking at how to use rules. There are some bigger numbers that you might not be able to draw a number line to represent them. Hence, you need some basic rules to do that. So without much ado, let's quickly look into that. So looking at the rules to add integers, that is without the use of the number line, we'll start with the first rule that has to do with when the signs are the same. Okay, so whenever you are adding integers and you have the signs being the same, then all you want to do is you want to add the numbers and keep the sign. What do we mean by you should add numbers and keep the sign? So let's say you have a positive A and you are adding it to what? Positive B. As you can see over here, the signs are the same. They are both positive numbers. So all you want to do is just add the A to the B and then keep the sign. You see, keep the sign over here. A typical example is 5 plus 3. They are both positive numbers. So let's just add 5 to what? 3. And we keep the sign, giving us what? A positive 8. You see, the same applies to when you are working with negative. So it says when you have a negative A plus a negative B, all we are saying is let's add the numbers, just the numbers A and B. So A plus B, and then let's keep the signs. Since the signs are the same, let's keep them. You get it? This is when we want to add integers of the same signs. So the example here is negative 4 plus negative 2. Now, as you can see, the signs are what? The same. This one here is a negative, whilst this here is also a negative. And the rule is saying, let's just add the numbers. So we add 4 to what? 2. 4 to 2, and then we keep the sign. Because they are negative, let's keep the negative. So that we have what? Negative 6. You see, very simple. That is what this first rule is saying if you want to add integers with the same signs. But what if we want to add integers and then the signs are different? So over here, if we want to add integers of different sign, the rule is saying, let's subtract the smaller number from the larger number. And we keep the sign of what? The larger number or the bigger number. What does this mean? If we have 7, we are adding it to negative 2. Now, if you look at it carefully, we are adding what? Different signs. This is a positive, whilst this is a negative. So what it is saying is, let's subtract the smaller number from the larger number. The larger and then the smaller number we mean here is this one and then this. You see? So let's take out the 2 from the 7. You see? So that it rather becomes 7 minus 2. And if you look at these two they get, which one is bigger? The 7 is bigger. So our final answer is going to be a positive. So that 7 minus 2 we know gives us what? 5. So we have positive 5, which still remains 5. You get it? Let's take another example so you test your understanding. In this example here, we have negative 6 plus 4. Negative 6 plus 4. So it is saying that, you see, we are talking of different signs over here. And for 6 and 4, which one is bigger? 6 is bigger than 4. You see? So all is saying, let's take 4 from 6. So that it rather becomes 6 minus 4. Then Among these two, if you are saying 6 is bigger, then our final answer should take the sign of the 6, so that we have negative over here, so that we evaluate it as what? Negative. This negative 6 minus 4 gives us 2. So our final answer is 2. I'm taking the rule again. It said if we want to what? Add different signs, then let's subtract the smaller number from the larger number and keep the sign of the bigger number. And for this first one, we took 7 plus negative 2. 7 and 2, which one is bigger? It is 7. So in that case, let's take out the 2 from the 7. So that becomes 7 minus 2. Then the answer we'll get, which is 5. Let's attach the sign of the bigger number, which is positive, to it. For this second one here, we had negative 6 plus 4. So because there are different signs, it says let's take out the small one, which is 4, from 6. So now we have what? 6 minus 4, as you see over here. Then our final answer should take the sign of the bigger number over here, which is negative. That is how we use the rules to add integers. Now let's look at how we can subtract integers, also with the rules. Now, subtracting of integers is a little bit tricky at first, but here's the secret. Subtracting a number is the same as adding its opposite. When you want to subtract a number, it is just the same as adding its opposite. So when we talk of opposite, what do we mean by the opposite? So for instance, the opposite of a positive integer is a negative integer. So if you take 3, for instance, the opposite of 3 is negative 3. You see? And the opposite of a negative integer is a positive integer. So the opposite of negative 3 is then what? 3. These are the opposites of the numbers. So anytime we want to subtract a number, it is the same as adding its opposite. So let's look at what that means. What that means is, if you have your A as written here, and you want to subtract B from it, we should keep the A as it is. You get it? And then, so it's the same as adding. Instead of subtraction, let's change it to addition. Then we take this and change it to its opposite. You get it? Of course, for A minus B, that is the normal subtraction we do. And I do hope that one you'll be okay with it. But let's look at the second one over here. A minus negative B. So let's keep A as it is, change our subtraction to addition, and then we change the second integer to its opposite. The opposite of negative B is what? B. With that said, let's look at how this rule is applied. So for our first question here, we have 5 minus 3. Of course, you can easily evaluate this, which gives us 2. But if we were to use the rule, it says let's maintain the first integer, which is 5. Then instead of subtraction, let's change that to addition. And then for the number, the second integer, let's change it to its opposite. The opposite of 3 is negative 3. You see? And this can easily be seen as what? Applying the rule for addition. 5 minus 3 giving us 2. This first example here I said earlier on is what? Obvious. We already know how to do this. But take this second example. 2 minus 7. So all it says is let's keep the first integer, add it to what? The opposite of the second integer. So that is minus 7. You see? And we know the rules concerning addition of integers of different signs. So all it says is let's take out the small one from the big one. So that is 7 minus 2. 7 minus 2 gives us a 5. So you put our 5 over there. And then we take the sign of the bigger number. What is the sign of the 7? Negative. Let's pay attention to this once again. So we are working 7 minus 2. The rule concerning subtraction says we should do what? We should maintain the first integer and then we change the sign to what? Positive. And we find the opposite of the second integer, which now becomes negative 7. Then this has now become an addition work. So that is 2 plus negative 7. Now the rule concerning addition says if you are adding and then the signs are different, let's take the smaller one from the bigger number, dig it. So that we have 7 minus 2. 7 minus 2 gives us a 5. And then we put the negative sign attached to it. All right. Okay. So let's take another one here. We have negative 4, then minus 2. Take note, if you are not conversant with the rules, well, the number line, as we have done in the previous video, can also be used. And they all give the same answer. So for this over here, we maintain our first integer. Then we change this one, the sign here, minus to what? Addition. And then all we do is we find the negative, the opposite of the 2, which is negative 2. This here has now come to do with what? Addition of 2 integers. And we said if you are adding 2 integers and then the signs are the same, add the integers so that I have what? 4 plus 2. 4 plus 2 gives us a 6. And since the signs are the same, when adding, we just repeat the same sign over there. Basically, this is how we subtract and then add integers when what? Using the rules. Let's solve one last example, after which I give some exercises. So this one here says negative 1 minus negative 6. So we still maintain our first one, which is negative 1. You see, then let's change our sign to what? Positive. And for the second integer, let's change it to what? Its opposite. The opposite of negative 6 is what? 6. You see, so now it becomes negative 1 plus 6. Now this has become an addition problem. You see, and we said if we are adding and then they are of different signs, let's take the smaller digit from the bigger digit so that we have 6 minus 1. 6 minus 1 gives us what? A 5. And then we take the sign of the bigger digit. This is the bigger digit. What is the sign? Positive. So positive 5. As simple as that. So now I'll put up some examples or some exercises that you can try on your own. So these are some exercises you can try on your own. And take note, depending on the method you understand, you can use any of them. You can use the addition and subtraction using the number line, or you can use the rules as well. See you in our next video where we look at multiplication of integers. I do hope this video will be helpful. Stay safe and then bye.